How to bring your best to the table. The love life you've been waiting for is just not happening for you. You see all these people online in relationships, getting engaged and having destination weddings, and you start to wonder, what is wrong with you? Listen, let me tell you, you are incredible. You're attractive, you're put together, yet you're not in a relationship. Your dates are far and few between. It's like you're in a maze searching for that connection. I'm going to show you how to master the three levels of the love relationship using emotional intelligence so that you can have an emotionally healthy love relationship. Because maybe right now it feels like the men you meet are seeking something that you're not willing to give, and you start questioning if you're somehow missing out on some secret ingredient. There is something, though, that you need to know about, and that's how to operate so that you can have the love relationship instead of just existing by yourself or existing in an emotionally draining situationship, right? You can have the type of relationship that you want just by learning these three distinct levels of the love relationship. And I'm not talking about just getting more attention from men, right? Or how do you go on more dates? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you can level up your relationships no matter what stage of the relationship you're in. I'm talking about being ready and available for the right person to find you. I'm talking about finally engaging with people of the same mind, about feeling self assured in your relationships, about having the confidence to be who you are and become trusting and trustworthy. That's a part that we cannot forget. And most of all, receiving the commitment from the other person because they are ready too. And that's when it matters. You're about to learn the key to how to manage your emotions so that you can maneuver the right way before and during the time of meeting someone, how to have the right expectations, and to position yourself as a valuable partner in a relationship at each level of the love relationship. All right. So don't waste any more time in relationships that you were not meant to be in. Don't do it. Today, I'm continuing our journey from last week's episode where we explored if you are prepared for a love relationship. If you missed it, you've got to check it out. It is pure gold. Okay. So, in this episode, though, we'll talk about the communication styles, that ever so important self talk about relationships, and what you truly desire. We'll find that out. Plus, we'll uncover the power of prayer and identifying your heart's deepest desires. Okay, so if you're ready for a love relationship, or even if you're just curious about the journey, this episode is a must watch for you. All right, so let's get into it. Now, listen, I know who you are. Okay, and you know, when I hear stories of women in relationships, there is a part of me that just wants to say, but you don't have to go through that. But I understand the realization of where you are in a relationship is something that you have to work on. The realization of your worth, as far as what you should take or shouldn't take, that's kind of relative. But I'm going to tell you, there are some basic ground rules that apply across the board, especially if we're talking about your emotional health. You are ready for a relationship, right? But first, you have to know how to show up. And then you have to know what to do when you get there. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with the three levels of the love relationship. Because you want to be married and it's just not happening for you. Does it always seem like when you're ready for a commitment, he's not ready, whoever the he is, right? So you're doing everything to show this guy that you'll make a good wife, and he still acts like he's halfway single. There is something that you have to recognize about this relationship. And we're going to talk about exactly what that is, because it might not be the exact thing that you think. Okay. This could be you as well. It could be that in the relationships that you have, that after a while, you stop understanding each other. There's just like this weird energy that the two of you, and you start to make arguments, and then you start questioning yourself and the relationship. And, I have a secret for you. If you're ready for a commitment and your partner isn't, then it might be time for you to reevaluate. Not wait until something comes to a head and then the relationship ends and you start this cycle all over again. No, you take ownership and you reevaluate, because not every connection is meant to last. And it's okay. That's how you go through and find the person, or be available for the person who you are meant to be with. It's that simple. Everything is not going to be exactly how you've dreamed about it. My dad used to always say, life is not a fantasy, and it's not. Okay, we're good and grown enough to know that everything is not like we thought it was when we were 18, when we were 21, even when we were 30. Things are a whole lot different when you see a different type of reality. But getting back to relationships, because we're different, we have an understanding that, if we just stick it out, then maybe we can work through this. But there comes a point when you stick it out, but that's not at the beginning and it's not at the middle necessarily. So there's levels to this thing, a progression, a method of understanding. Your role is different at every different phase of the relationship, especially if you're looking for marriage. So, what are you bringing to the table? Let's just talk about that. What are you really bringing to the type of relationship that you want? Okay. Is it sex? Well, everybody can do that. So you can cook, huh? Okay. Well, there's restaurants, there's DoorDash. Okay. Oh, maybe you say what you bring to the table is that you can clean house, right? You can keep your house is so spotless. You can eat off the floor. Everything has its place. You know what? That's not a selling point. Because while this matters, a person at the level where you are, or the level that you want to be, can pay somebody for all of that. So because you can do these tasks, that's not bringing anything to the table. So you have money. So what? Money is really not what you should concentrate on bringing to the table, because if those are the things that you think are valuable in a relationship, then you're also bringing insecurities, you're bringing anger, and you're possibly bringing drama, because you have all of these emotions and these feelings that you should not have at this point or stage in the relationship, or you're dealing with somebody that you have no business dealing with at all. And then it takes months for you to figure that out, because you do everything that you can to try to show this person that you're the one. Well, that's not what you should be doing. And I'm going to discuss just what you should be doing. Because all those things that you think you're bringing to the table doesn't guarantee a successful relationship. If you haven't mastered the levels of the love relationship, then I know that you are tired of the emotional ups and downs, hearing the men in your relationships continually telling you falsehoods or half truths about who they are or what they want from you. Maybe you've resigned to playing ball just like the boys do, right? Free and unattached relationships. I get it. Some women say that they don't want a relationship, but you know what? I don't believe them. If you're saying that, I don't believe you, that you don't want a relationship, that you don't want companionship. You don't want someone to wake up with you, to sleep with you, to share things with you, to grow with you, to build with you. You can't tell me you don't want that. Okay. You may have convinced yourself that you're fine to go through life strong and independent. And you should be strong and independent while you're single. And maybe you're taking this attitude into your relationships, and that's why conflicts and misunderstandings arise. Because you can't be the same type of strong and independent woman while you're in a relationship. If we just get back to elementary school, if we just get back to ground zero and stop trying to be psychologists and therapists and figure everybody out and what their problems are and what they haven't addressed, and giving them titles and names for some type of disorder that you have no business trying to describe somebody. Now, I know you may have experienced a certain type of person in relationship. I get that. And that experience has caused you to build up walls when it comes to relationship. I get that too. And I'm not going to go deep into it because I addressed some of it in the previous episode. But what I want to say to you, that if we go back to elementary school and we do the little nursery rhymes where girls are sugars and spice and boys are this, then you recognize that in order for you to be the type of person in a relationship with the type of person that you want to be in a relationship with, so I'm saying if you're a woman and you want to be in a relationship with a man, forget all about what's been going on social media and what society has decided that we should just analyze about each other, and get back to the grassroots. You can't be him and have him want to take care of you. That's it. You can't be that same independent, stick up for yourself in the same way. I'm not saying you don't stick up for yourself. Mouthy, look, I can check somebody in a minute. I do what I want to do. I'm not doing this. I wish somebody would. Or I'm ready to go. Or I complain all the time. Or I don't ever have a kind word. I'm always negative, ready to cuss you out. I yell at my kids, right? And I'm stuck in my own ways. That's not the way to get the man that you say that you want. The man who is going to be a protector, a provider, right? Is that what you think he's looking for? Is that what you think he's going to expend his energy, his time, his emotions, and his money on? No. Okay. So if you agree with me, great, right? If you disagree, that's fine too. You have to be real about yourself and about how you feel about your relationship status and how you view relationships, and be willing and open to hear a different perspective. Okay. So let's break down the three levels of the love relationship. I'll talk about what you should expect and what your mate is looking for in each level from you. Okay, it's not always about what you can get or the sign that you're getting from the other person. It's about you. On the previous episode, I talked about how being ready for a love relationship is a lesson in self awareness. Okay, so first of all, you have to be the person that's ready for a relationship. And I talked about what that looks like. And then what someone who isn't ready for the love relationship, what their emotions and attitude and behavior looks like, right? And overcoming the self shame associated with not being in a successful relationship is part of the work that you need to do. So if you haven't really assessed how you feel about you maybe having some bad relationships in the past, or never having a serious relationship where you felt like someone really loved and cared about you, or maybe you've had that and something happened and you don't have it anymore, but it seems like right now the right candidates aren't out there. Well, I'm telling you, the right candidates are out there, but you have to be the person, right, who's ready to meet that candidate, because bad and dysfunctional relationships diminish your self worth. You no longer believe that happy and successful relationships are possible, and you display that in your behavior with your girlfriends, how you carry yourself out in the community, even how you talk about relationships, and especially when you talk with men that you're interested in, you come off either begging, meaning that you're looking to get something out of relationship. You're not genuine in your intentions, and you don't speak up for yourself. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And I'm going to just recap this from last episode because I think it's so very important. Your communication style. So I talked about being aggressive. That's what will run a man away. being aggressive. There is a way for you to stick up for yourself and say what you want, but that's not it. The other thing is if you are passive, and passive is just where you don't speak up for yourself at all and you let things just happen in the relationships. You don't put a break on anything. When you see something is offending you, you just roll with it because you're happy to be in a relationship. That is not going to keep a relationship, not a healthy emotional one that you want. That is not the answer. So the next one is passive aggressive. And I think passive aggressive is somehow worse than passive, if that makes sense. Because not only are you passive and you're not speaking up for yourself, you planning stuff because I would rather hint at something instead of just coming out and saying it. That you're not being authentic. You're not being real or keeping it 100. What you're doing is faking and being something that you're not, because if you are looking for real love, a real love relationship, you want it to be authentic, you have to show up as authentic. You have to cry when you're supposed to cry. You have to stick up for yourself, and that's setting boundaries. But you also should be vulnerable. That means you're not fussing and arguing and nagging all the time. You're also being a support. You're also helping and just being an ear to hear and bringing positivity. Okay. The next one is that if you are, I said passive, passive aggressive, I said aggressive. The best thing for you to be is assertive. And that's where you find the balance of sticking up for yourself, sticking up for other people, heading things off. If you see that there could be a miscommunication, owning your stuff, right? Being deliberate and intentional, saying what you mean at the right time and saying it the right way. That's being assertive, right? Here's a famous quote that I'm going to tell you because, there's a certain understanding about what relationships really are outside of fantasy, right? And this is a quote from Carl Jung. He's a famous Swiss psychologist, and he introduced the concept of collective unconscious. Okay. And what that is a reservoir of shared human experiences and symbols that influence our emotional intelligence and how we relate in relationships. And here's the quote: the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. All right. And when Carl Jung said that, what he is referring to is that the relationship you have, if you're with somebody, both of you influence each other. So how you show up in the relationship, how you communicate is very important to how the other person responds. And what you want is a real chemistry. And let me tell you, that chemistry doesn't necessarily run smoothly and it don't necessarily feel good. But there is a way, if you're self-aware, if you have started practicing emotional intelligence where you are aware of the other person's emotions as well, you can start finding ways to better communicate with each other. And that's the only way that you are going to make it in a relationship. And if you've ever heard of Carl Jung, you're like, I know that name. He is one of the founders or the developers of the Myers-Briggs test. So if you've ever been in a corporate environment, and I used to use this in workshops as well, and it helps people understand what some of their better skills are so that they can apply for the right jobs or work in the right industry. And most times those tests are pretty accurate, right? But Jung's profound insight resonates with the idea that each phase of the relationship brings out a transformation and a growth, and both individually and as a couple start to become transformed. So that's why your environment is so important to your emotional health. So the first point in the levels of love relationship is chemistry, right? I call it sophisticated dating. This is the phase where you are single. So let me preface this. You are single, maybe you've never been married, maybe you've been divorced, maybe you just had a bad breakup, but you have addressed your issues. And I'm not saying you don't have feelings anymore. What I'm saying is you have completed that relationship, right? You have worked on yourself. You have centered yourself. That means that you have developed a means to handle your triggered emotions. You've become an emotional planner. So now you're not triggered by the things that used to trigger you. Now you're able to recognize when something is about you or if something is about a situation, and that you can step in and handle it. That's where self-awareness and self-worth are developed, and it's getting stronger, right? Because if you come to a relationship that you really want and you have a poor attitude, then you're not going to keep that person around. So what I'm saying is you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Believe me, everybody is a work in progress, because we live here on this earth and we deal with each other, and things are going to happen, and they're not always going to happen the way that we want it. So we have to understand that and find a way to move past it and keep driving for the life that we really want, not the life that can just happen to us because we exist, right? And that's why I focus on sophistication, because the term sophistication means that not only do you take ownership of where you are learned. You want to know more. You're seeking an answer. You don't go in anything blindsided. You do what you can to bring light to a situation, to be a light in the room, to help other people. And you do it with poise and elegance. You are mastering emotional intelligence because you no longer care what person X, Y, and Z thinks about you or what you're doing or how you handle your business. You have a plan for your life and you execute on that plan. Forget what anybody say, girlfriend, relative. You are working on yourself. And if you're single, this is the opportune time, if you're not already sophisticated, to get sophisticated, right? Because if you want to meet somebody, you don't want to just be still working on yourself. We're too old for that now. We should be addressing the things of the past so they no longer hinder us from our future. And if you feel like you keep reverting back to thoughts of something that happened to you a long time ago that was triggering, address that trigger. Don't make it somebody else's problem and get rid of it for you. No longer let it be your problem. You might have to pay for it. You might have to go get some help professionally, but you need to address it. Okay? Because if you don't address these things that happened to you in your past, you're going to have a bad attitude toward relationships. If you're not self aware, it shows up in your self worth. If you haven't done the work to find out what you really want, then you don't know who you're looking for. You don't know who is really breaking your goodness, what is it called? Where you have these certain rules that you want. I won't date if he doesn't do deal breakers. You won't even know if somebody's breaking your deal breakers because you haven't set the right deal breakers. You don't even know what you want. You have this list of must-haves, right? But is that reality? Do you match those must-haves? I want somebody who is physically fit. I want somebody with good credit. I want somebody who has a plan and is ambitious. I want somebody, you have all this list. Do you match that? If you had to dream of where this person goes that you're dreaming about, who they see on a daily basis, what type of woman they could be attracted to. I mean, we don't know. Everybody likes something different. I'm saying hypothetically, I'm getting reality here. If you have this imaginary avatar of the man that you want, are you the woman that he wants? And I'm not saying you know this, but have you worked on those things that you're asking of him? When I was single, and I mean the time when I was divorced the first time, before I recognized that before I got in a relationship with my husband, I knew that I would be married again. I never thought that because I got divorced, I was somehow no longer valuable. I was somehow broken or ruined because I had been married and divorced. I didn't feel that way at all. Okay. And I did things to make sure that I didn't succumb to that. Now, I'm not saying I did what most, well, I won't say most, what a lot of people do when they get out of a relationship. They try to make themselves feel better by sleeping with a whole bunch of people. You know, they say the best way to get over somebody is get under somebody. That's a poor philosophy, right? But I could have done a lot of different things. I could have turned to drinking, I could have turned to alcohol, promiscuity, gambling, whatever. I could have done a lot of things, but I decided to work on me. I can't change other people, but this didn't work out. And I can't believe that it's all right, the other person's fault. I had to put something into this for it not to work out. Let me do the work on me. So in my future relationships, this won't happen. Right. So I prayed, and I didn't pray that he had drove a certain car or he had a certain degree or worked in a certain field. I didn't pray all of that. What I prayed for was someone who would love me for me, someone who I shared the same God with, someone who would be a leader in my household, someone who would be a provider and a protector. I prayed for someone who had the same morals that I had, the someone who was kind and would love my daughter. I prayed for those things, okay? If you don't take the time to find out what you want, then you're missing out. You already know what you don't want. You lived what you don't want. You have to find out what you want. And what you want might not be just the next person that comes by. You have to be intentional. Okay? Realistic deal breakers are what you need. You have to set the right expectations for a relationship, especially at this level. The chemistry level, sophisticated dating means that there are certain things that you do and don't do. And I'm not talking about rules for anybody else. I'm talking about rules for you. There are certain things that you don't do. And there are certain expectations that you shouldn't have because you don't do certain things, right? That's taking ownership of where you are. You're not setting the cart before the horse. So your expectation should be that you are meeting gentlemen that are your friends. And if they're your friends, they're your friends. That doesn't mean that you're sleeping with them. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just was never that person that randomly slept and tried test drove before I decided if that whole thing. I never did that. Okay. And that was just my self-worth stepping up. But your expectations should be that this is a person that you're going to meet as a friend. You want to get to know this person. You're talking about you want a real relationship, but you putting sex before it even becomes a point where you are even like this person. You don't know this person. And once women start having sex, our emotions do get involved. I don't care what you say, they do. And it just distorts the reality of the relationship. Okay. So your expectation should be for a friend, nothing more. When somebody pulls out ahead of somebody else, that's when you know you can give that person more attention. But right now, you go out on dates, that's fine, right? Men are interested also in women who are doing something. So if you are just a person who goes to work, comes home, stays in the house. I mean, you might go to church or you might go someplace, but you're not doing anything to build a life higher or better or increase your knowledge in some kind of way. Then you could be considered more work for this man that you're looking for instead of an asset, instead of a benefit, instead of a helpmeet, instead of a helper, instead of a partner, instead of a collaborator, right? You should be doing something for you, not just to catch a man, but for you. And men are attracted to that. And then when you're not doing it, they also stop liking that. And I'm really about to be transparent. I remember when my first marriage was breaking down, right? Uh, I used to, I just had got so immersed in being a wife. Now, I was still doing things, but I still centered everything around my husband. Like, okay, I'll be home when he gets home, or we got to do this together, or we got to do that together. It was like I didn't do a whole lot without him. And then one day, this is my first time, he said, you're not doing anything. Why are you waiting on me? I liked it better when I had to find you. I liked it better when I had to chase you when we were dating. Oh boy, when we was dating, he had to locate me. Although we weren't rocking cell phones like that then, I had a beeper. But anyway, that's another story for another time. All I'm saying to you is men are more attracted when you are working on yourself, when you're doing something, becoming something, being what you want to be. You have a dream and you're working on your dream. That's more attractive than you waiting for him at home. And if you don't feel that that's so, then I mean, maybe that's the dynamic of your relationship. But if you're single, if you're not already married, you should be seeking someone who wants to see you do well, who wants to see you grow. But in the meantime, while you're dating, you have to set a standard for yourself. And I'm about to say this, and I don't know if this is a millennial thing or if it's just the whole of society, but I never would have imagined this back when I was single and dating. I say this emphatically, especially if you as if a gentleman is interested in getting to know me, then no halvesies, no split the check, no 50-50, unless I initiate it, unless I want to do so, and I'm not doing it. As a woman, you say that you don't want to be looked at as masculine. You want somebody to take care of you. Let them take care of you. And I'm not saying use anybody, and I'm not saying being kept. You still do your own thing, but be the help me. Be where he's missing. If he's this, you be that. If you're that, he be this. Don't be the same thing. And split in half, we're not equal like that. Okay, moving on. If you get with somebody and you feel like there are too many things that are not going in the way that you want them, let them go. You're dating. You haven't invested anything in this person. I'm talking about if within the first 5 months of you dating, knowing each other, being friends, hanging out, getting to know each other, not Netflixing and chilling, not chilling over my house. If you are actually out in the world getting to know this person and you feel like there are things that are just not sitting well with you, let them go. Cut ties. Be done. You can still be friends. You don't have to confront somebody and tell, well, I didn't like the way you treat me, so you can lose my number. It don't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. This just isn't working out for us. I had a good time. I think you're a nice person, but you're not the one for me, and I'm interested in dating for marriage. Okay? Cut that person. If you got to cry, cry, get it out your system, but do not settle for someone who is not making you feel the way that you want to feel, that is not protecting you in the sense of the level where you are if you're out in public, or they let other people say rude things to you. They want you to go have, they don't talk nice, they treat other people poorly. Let that person go. You don't have time for that. You don't need that in your life, okay? But work on having individual interests. Work on doing things just for you, just because you want to do them, not because there's a group of people doing it or somebody told you should. Do it just for you. And when you show up at places just for you, just because that's what you like to do, people notice. And they notice you because you look more attractive. You're happy. You're satisfied. If you're going to a place doing what you want to love, you're not checking for who's in the room. You're not checking for who you can get with, or who might be speaking to you, or who might think you hot, or who might think you're attractive. You don't care about that. When I'm at the museum, honey, I know I look like I got all kinds of bronzer and put on the glass. Oh, I got everything together because that's my happy place. What's your happy place? Go there. Listen, I tell you a story about my friend Nika, and she's okay with me telling the story because we talked about this on a previous episode. But Nika is a relationship therapist, right? And I've known Nika for a long time. I've known Nika before she met her husband. So she said that she was going to an event and none of her friends could go to the event with her. So she decided to go anyway. And she went to this event. She didn't know anyone. She didn't know anyone at this event. And she sat down at this table and she began a conversation. Well, actually, he invited her to sit at his table with some other people, her husband did. And they began a conversation. She told me that she said it seemed like they were on a train. It was nobody else around. But she met her husband and they've been married. I think they just celebrated 20 years, maybe 20 something years of marriage because she went alone doing something where she wanted to go that had nothing to do with her looking for anybody else. You're a free agent as a single person. You should be dating frequently. You should be dating different types of people. You definitely shouldn't be dating the same people that you dated before. And if you are self-aware now and you're working on your self-worth, you're not going to date that same guy. And if he come back around, you better, girl, you better not. Okay, let's move on to point number 2, which is compatibility. And that's when you're in the committed relationship. Somebody has stepped up, girl. Out of the 5 guys you've been dating over the last year, one of them said that he wants to be with you. And he's still around because you have things in common. You've noticed that he has some of the same values that you have. You've seen how he's treated other people around you. He knows what fork to use. He knows what black tie means. All of those type of things, right? So you are compatible. But let me tell you, this compatibility at this level is just a committed relationship. You're still an individual. You're a girlfriend, right? So you're still making decisions based on you. You're still making a decision about where you go, what job you take, if you're going to move across country, if you're going to change careers, if you're going to go audition for American Idol. All of those are your choices to make as an individual. You're a girlfriend. You're not a wife, right? You have your own goals and interests that are separate from his. Again, you're doing things that make you happy. There isn't going to come a magical time where you'll have no more responsibility, no more obligation to anybody else, and you can just do whatever you want to do. You're going to start at that moment. Why wait? Do it right now. And while you're single, not married, is the time for you to do those things. And I'm not saying that within reason you don't take into consideration your boyfriend's feelings, but what I'm saying is on big life decisions, you are still a single person. The last thing you want is regret in your life, especially regret to somebody that you're going to be with later on down the line, as if they held you back from something. Okay. At this point in the compatibility phase, you're making sure that you're equally yoked. You're seeing how this person handles tough situations. You're seeing if he goes to God when he has a problem or he turns to violence. If he starts cussing you out or he really wants to talk or pray. You're trying to find out where you are, where you're meeting together. And this is so important to do at this phase. Because as this phase, you are still a person who wants to be happy and curating the sophisticated lifestyle that you want. So being equally yoked is in beliefs and morals and ambition. You can't have no couch potato and you want to go out and rule the world. That's not going to work for you. This is the time where you set up boundaries with everyone. You set up boundaries with yourself, because you're not going to be running over there trying to pull up wifely duties because you want to snag this guy. You're going to play your role as the girlfriend. You're not going over cleaning up the house and cooking. If you can afford to live by yourself, you better live by yourself and not with him. You know the whole saying, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? That is, people don't realize that. I've seen people who waited 17 years to get married. Anyway, you set up boundaries with your mate as well. This is where you make sure that if this relationship goes further, he knows who you are. He knows that you need your quiet time sometime. He knows now, or he's learning because you're creating these boundaries, that when you have a disagreement, that you're not going to be yelling. That's not how you communicate. You're learning how to get along with each other. You're learning to find out what each other's triggers are. So you have to put up boundaries around that, because you still want to be happy wherever you are and whoever you're with. And those boundaries are not like, you can't do this, you can't do that, I dare you to do that, and that's not going to happen. No, the boundaries around you, what for your mate, are the boundaries that you set up so that you can be the type of person that still has self-care while you're still participating in the relationship and giving the relationship your energy. You also have to put boundaries around others, and the boundaries around others are some of the most important boundaries at this phase of the relationship, because you are showing your potential future husband, right, that you value him. You value what he thinks, as far as, if you have male friends, you value, and I'm not saying you diss your friends, but you can back up from them. And you don't let others talk negative about your relationship. You maintain your role as a girlfriend, right? Keeping your own house. And listen, I don't care what you think, what society says on Instagram or wherever, TikTok or wherever. The sex that you have at this level is not marital sex, okay? And even marital sex has some boundaries, but the sex that you have at this level, you can't be a porn star and expect to be the wife, okay? But you also have to work out your relationship with your mate. I'm good and grown. I know you're good and grown. All I'm saying to you is, save something for later. Okay, but you also start becoming more vulnerable to this person. Vulnerability comes in stages, so you can start opening up a little more. Okay, you can start sharing more of your feelings, right? You can start addressing personally the things of the past to make sure that it doesn't impact this relationship. Every relationship is different, and as new issues arise within you about situations or in this dynamic, you need to address them immediately. Don't let that fester, right? Your responsibility is to your mate for the preparation of the next level. So you're testing things out, right? You might go on trips together to see how somebody acts. You need to see this person in multiple situations, and that doesn't happen overnight. Because at the next level, you're going to give your all. In this level number 2, you have to be trustworthy. You can't be dipping back with your old boyfriend. You can't be keeping those male friends so close, just like it was when you were single. You can't do that in a relationship, right? You won't be trustworthy. Whether he says anything, whether he makes a stink about it or not, it's something that you have to do. Let's move on to the third one of the 3 levels of the love relationship is conformity. So now you're one person, you're married. Doesn't matter if it was in front of the justice of the peace or if it was in front of your whole family, everybody. You are one, no longer 2. You are one. You give your all in this relationship. Your thinking, your actions, your behavior, your plans, all are incorporated with this other person. You can't unilaterally make certain decisions about your future without this person's buy-in. And it doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter how you look to other people. You committed to this. You said yes, or I do, or I affirm. Whatever you said, you did that. And it wasn't about the dress and all of that, because you could have said this without all of that. It still means the same. This is your primary relationship. You address arguments and disagreements with vulnerability. You are willing to bite your tongue until the next day or until a little bit later when things cool down for the sake of the relationship. You no longer need to feel like I have to show you who I am. You are vulnerable to this person because you two have agreed to spend the rest of your life together. And if you don't trust that person, why you marry him? Because y'all been together so long? Well, this is not you that I'm talking about right here because you have done the work. You know the 3 levels of relationship and you mastered the first 2 to get to this level, right? You're not that person, even if you have been in past serious relationships or marriages that left the relationship because things got hard or hit below the belt. You're vulnerable now. You find a way to resolve issues that work for the 2 of you. Because in the commitment phase, you worked out how to handle disagreements. And if he didn't behave, and I say the word behave, and I don't mean that you could control anybody, but he didn't respond in the matter. If he didn't respond in the manner that didn't hurt your feelings or made sense to you, then that's not the person that you should have been with. But moving on, we're not going to go backwards because if you're married, you got to work that out, period. But it starts by protecting your marriage. You don't let outside people in your marriage in any way, shape, or form. I don't care what people say on television that helps the love relationship by bringing somebody else in. It doesn't. And it violates the covenant you have with God. It didn't say you, him, and Shaniqua. Oh no, you protect this at all costs. You don't let people talk about your husband. You don't let people talk about your marriage. You don't jokingly talk about your ball and chain or your husband. No, every word that I say to anybody about my husband, Chris, listen, it's putting him in the highlight because that's where he is to me. Your marriage is your primary relationship. You love your mom, you love your siblings, but your marriage is your primary relationship. And you don't have to explain what goes on or what's happening or the dynamics of your marriage with anyone because it's not their business. And when you go around venting and complaining to other people, and it's not their business. They don't know what happens when the doors are closed, when there's no one else around. So why are you going to them? You need to go to the person that you were talking about, that you're married to, that you're connected to, that you love, that you have this covenant with. Sharing information with other people is wrong. Unless that person is a therapist, it's wrong. Also, always doubting is wrong. If you always doubt that your mate is doing what they say they're going to do or where they say they're going to be, or even in a long-term way, you don't trust them in some kind of way, you can work on something about you. You got to trust this person. This is the person you trust with all your business. You also have to be trustworthy. You have to be above board in every situation. No white lies, no skirting the truth, no half truth. And share where you're going, what you're doing. Girl, listen, I used to get people laugh at me like, oh, you checking in? Yeah, I'm checking in. I want him to know where I am. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to be somewhere that I'm not going to be. I don't have pride set up where I somehow seem weak because my husband knows where I am. Shoot, you better let somebody know where you are in this day and age. Everybody needs to let somebody know where they are. You should be expecting good. This is the relationship. This is the person that you're going to grow old with. This is the person that you're going to share the best part of your life with. After you have become this emotionally intelligent, sophisticated woman, you need somebody to take these European trips with. You want someone to share these experiences that you never dreamed you would have. You want someone who you can look over at and know that you don't have to put on airs. He's okay if you something start drooping or something get bigger. He okay with that. He loves you, right? That's the person that you plan your life with and you say, what's next? And we're going to do this together. And you plan what your life is going to look like. Those are the three levels of the love relationship. If you master those three levels of the love relationship, you have a happy, healthy relationship with love and promise for a great future. So thanks for joining me on this episode about how to bring your best to the table. I know it can be frustrating when you see others seemingly finding love effortlessly, but while you're left wondering what's missing, you can remember that you're not in this journey alone. As we've explored today, there are distinct levels to the love relationship, and understanding them is the key to finding the right connection. So don't waste time in relationships that you're not meant to be in. Master these three stages of a love relationship and discover your role at each phase, especially if you're aiming to have a fulfilling marriage. So if you found today's insights valuable, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if you're truly committed to transforming your life and enhancing your emotional intelligence, I invite you to enroll in my sophisticated empowerment course. It's your opportunity to bring your best sophisticated self to every relationship and create the love life that you deserve. So remember, your journey to a fulfilling love life is a lesson in self-awareness, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. So thanks for joining me. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.